Well, hello, friends. Welcome to another day of a woo woo Christmas, where I'm bringing through some of my most beautiful friends and colleagues in bringing some tips for our hearts and our souls for the season. And I'm so excited to, welcome one of the most beautiful practitioners I know, and also one of my closest friends, Jen Reddish. So great to have you, Jen,
Thanks,
who is
Michelle.
a registered master therapeutic counselor, among so many other things, circle holder, works with beautiful poetry, fire ceremonies, salt ceremonies. She's just somebody that's so imperative in so many women's lives and their journeys. And I also feel like she is like a specialist, a queen in boundaries. If you follow her on her Instagram, some of her reels are just so awesome and so helpful about how do we stay in ourselves and our true selves and not let other people cross our paths and getting all messy. And I feel like that's what we need even for as we come into the holiday season here. So Jen, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks,
You're a
Michelle.
local. We share the same kind of pine trees.
Yes.
So beautiful to have you. And Jen, give us all your tips, because this is a time where I think boundaries can get crossed so quickly and us not
Mhm.
having awareness of ours. So how
Yes.
lead us through some of your wisdom.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me here, Michelle. Love talking about boundaries at any time, but especially coming up to the holidays or any time when you're preparing to be around family of origin. Paying attention to our boundaries is really important because, like you said, it's a time of year where there's going to be a high likelihood of like boundary violations, triggers. Often when we spend time around our family of origin, we get like triggered into younger versions of ourselves who remember what it was like growing up in somewhat of a dysfunctional family system, which don't be fooled, we all did. There's
Yeah, I was gonna say, is anybody excused from that?
nobody is, and some people think that they are, but some people have less dysfunction than others. But ultimately, like if you're human, there's going to be elements of dysfunction. Even like, I feel like this generation of parenting, a lot of us are really working on breaking generational patterns, and that's awesome. And we're still effing things up sometimes and making mistakes. So we're still creating our own unfortunate variety of dysfunction in our family homes, despite our best effort, right?
Yeah.
So something that is on our side with the holidays coming up is we can anticipate it. Sometimes we get blindsided by boundary violations, sometimes we get blindsided by triggers. But when you know you're going into perhaps like a high intensity environment, high emotions, you know you're going to be triggered, or you know other people are going to be triggered, you can prepare yourself for it. And instead of just jumping straight into like some psychoeducational discussion on how to set a boundary, I want to talk about what I think are the two most important things when we are preparing for boundary setting. So, number one, we cannot set a functional, effective boundary when we have a dysregulated nervous system. And when
Mm.
I'm talking about that, for those who are not familiar with that language, I'm talking about like a fight or flight or freeze or fawn response. So think about fight or flight responses like high anxiety and anger. That freeze or fawn response is like that shut down, overwhelmed, like tendency to agree when we disagree, kind of from that like shut down response. We're not going to be setting boundaries effectively from any of those places.
Mm.
So you want to learn how to invite a connection into your body, really invite some somatic awareness because your body is always going to tell you when you're okay or not okay. You want to learn how to regulate your nervous system as fast as humanly possible.
Mm.
And that's going to be different for different people, right?
Yeah, like how do we do that?
Yes. So from my perspective, I do a lot of work with internal family systems, IFS, and I feel like when we just practice the grounding strategy, so think about like one of my favorite things is like a really deep diaphragmatic breath. I guess you can't see me, but you put your hands on your rib cage. And you want to breathe so deeply that your rib cage is expanding and contracting. You want to breathe into your diaphragm. So think about like really bringing your energy into that space. And when you do that, your diaphragm will actually be pressing on your vagus nerve, and that's going to be activating your ventral vagus and your nervous system to support regulation.
So simple, so hard to do.
So simple. But when people say, like, oh, take a deep breath, you're like, deep breath. It's like, no, actually, a deep breath can be really helpful.
Mm.
Engaging in our senses. So think about the five senses is a great way to come into the here and now. The more we are present, the more likely we are to be regulated. It's when we're thinking about the past or the future that we can become dysregulated more easily.
Hmm.
And Even just like thinking about really your proprioception, like paying attention to what's going on in your environment, where your body is in space, creating an opportunity to send signals of safety to your nervous system. So, like looking up, slowly looking over your left shoulder, slowly. I'm not doing it that slow, actually.
Just making sure
Slowly down your right
there's no
shoulder.
tigers or cougars chasing us.
Well, that's literally what it's sending. That's the signal of safety it's sending to your nervous system.
Mm,
Because if there was a tiger or a cougar chasing you, you wouldn't be pausing to do that.
mm,
The slower you move, the more supportive it is for your nervous system.
thank you.
But that like warrior yoga pose,
Mm-hmm.
that's a really great one too, because it's not just like the way your body is kind of positioned.
Mm,
It's sending signals of safety to your nervous system and to your brain, creating safety in the environment.
beautiful.
Yeah. So you want to really learn how to do that. When you do that on its own, I like to look at that as a band-aid without addressing the source of the bleeding.
Okay.
So you're going to need to keep on replacing that band-aid over and over again because you're not stopping the bleeding. You're just putting a band-aid until that band-aid wears off. Then you put a new one on because you're still bleeding. So
Mm,
we're just applying the grounding strategy. You need to replace that band-aid all the time. You need to keep on practicing the grounding strategy all the time. It's just not enough. We're not actually changing anything internally.
mm,
But if we pair that with a connection with the triggered parts of ourselves, then we're addressing the source of the wound.
mm.
So this is an internal family systems approach, my own metaphor that I'm really proud of. So you want to like really bring your attention, your focus into the here and now, and then get curious. What part of me is activated right now? Maybe there's a part that really does want to shut down and just say yes to everything because it feels too scary to say no. So I'm going to slow down, pay attention to like the sensations in my body that go with that desire to like please others or to shut myself down, suppress myself, and ultimately abandon myself.
Mm,
And I want to just say, like, oh, hey, like there's a part of me here that really thinks that the only way to survive is by doing this. I'm going to invite connection, like if it's a real living thing, and say, oh, hey, I know you're here. Thank you for looking out for me. I know you're trying to keep me safe. So you want to invite connection and validation. And thinking about like you want to kind of do a bit of a role reversal here because what's happening is that part of you has come in to protect yourself. All of these parts of you are trying to protect yourself energy from experiencing trauma. So these different parts of you will come to life throughout varying times of your life. Like a lot of them develop in childhood for sure. And they're protecting your self energy from experiencing trauma so that when you do access your self energy, like that's when you really feel like your true authentic self. You feel like you have more access to a regulated nervous system.
mm,
And so what happens is when these triggered parts come to life, they like bulldoze self out of the way. And then there's this triggered part doing life for us of like, oh yeah, I'm going to shut myself down, or no, I'm going to scream and rage and like break plates against the wall because I'm so angry about this. And
mm,
that part of us is like this protective, fiery part that's like, hell no, we are not going to let this happen anymore. And
mm.
it can be extreme. These triggered parts can act in extremes.
Right. And I'm sure nobody's had an extreme Christmas here.
Probably not. No family fights,
No,
no
no,
hidden
no,
resentment.
no.
Yeah. So what's happening is those parts of you are trying to take care of you and they're trying to protect you. And you want to do a role reversal and build trust within your system so that you can lead from your self energy and you can take care of those parts and they can stop taking care of you.
Mm,
And this is where we want to set boundaries from. And it's not going to happen if we're like, oh no, I'm feeling so anxious. Oh, I'm not going to feel that way. Or I'm feeling so infuriated. Oh, I'm not going to feel that way.
mm,
I'm not then like, oh, great, I'm grounded. I like smelled some cinnamon and took a deep breath. I suppressed all of these triggered parts of myself. I'm going to go set some boundaries.
right.
It's not going to work. All that's going to happen is those triggered parts that we shut down are going to get louder and stronger, and they're going to fight to take over in those interactions.
Mm,
So you really want to work on like befriending those parts of you. And when you can create that connection and build safety and trust, if you're going to go further in that, which we won't talk too much about here, but really looking at like where did that like wound begin? How can we invite some release of those burdens that those parts carry? That's when we're really addressing like the source of the bleeding.
mm.
But just by inviting that connection and validation, we're helping ourselves. Like that's the rewiring of our nervous system. There's
Mm,
lots of ways to do it. This is, I feel like, one of the most powerful because we're creating safety in the here and now by being present and inviting connection with these triggered parts of us that are so concerned about our safety and well-being.
mm, mm-hmm,
So then from here, we want to think about, how am I going to prioritize myself? Thinking about like inviting some healing of some codependent patterns.
mm.
Other people don't actually matter more than me.
Oof. Does anybody like that
Do they?
question? Right? Oh, yeah.
And the important thing to think about that is that like it doesn't mean that I become really selfish and self-absorbed and I'm the only one who matters and I don't care about anyone else, which I think people often think when you're
Right.
thinking about like recovering from codependency. But what it means is I refuse to self-abandon and I can still be kind and considerate of other people.
Mm,
Just means I don't like suppress all of my own needs and feelings to make other people feel comfortable.
mm-hmm. So how do we know when we're doing that? Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like we're on autopilot so much
Yes.
that it's like, how do I know if my boundaries are being crossed? I don't know anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like sometimes like
totally.
after I'll be like, oh, I feel exhausted. Okay, maybe that was too much. But at
Yes.
the moment, I don't even know if I have awareness that it's happening, you know?
Right. Yeah, great
Yeah.
question. And I think that's because, and if that's happening, then that's an invitation to create more connection with those triggered parts of you because they're there, whether you're noticing them or not. They're
Mhm, of
probably just a
course.
little bit more suppressed
Right. Yeah.
and really inviting your like somatic awareness because your body like is the path to like your emotions and is really going to open up your intuitive connection as well for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And I know there's a lot of ways to access your intuition, which I've learned from you. But like the approach that I often take is thinking of like our true self, like our self energy is connected, has a lot of clarity, and has access to that inner knowing. And we're going to be able to follow our body's cues and
Mm,
pay attention to the difference, which you and I have talked about before, of like, oh, intuition versus anxiety. Oh, I'm feeling really shaky. My heart's racing. So that must be my intuition saying, no, don't go set this boundary. I'm
mm,
going to say no. That must be like a really scared, fragile part of yourself that doesn't want to feel abandoned or rejected by other people.
mhm,
And so, like, definitely just pay attention to your body in whatever way that you can, because your body's always giving you
yeah.
signals.
What are some of those signals, do you think?
Well, it's like what I just gave, like a
Yeah, like a
racing
heart racing
heart for
heart. Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But maybe like thinking about you're walking up to, I don't know, your in-laws' doorstep
Mm-hmm.
and you know that they're going to try to hug your son right away. And you
Mm-hmm.
know your son's not going to want to hug them. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens to, and this might be different for different people, maybe you
Right.
start to feel a shortness of breath. Maybe you're like anticipating being like, oh, maybe you're feeling a lot of tightness and rigidity. And thinking like, oh, I wish I didn't have to be here today. I can't stand this woman, whatever it is. So pay attention to that. It's like, oh, okay, so this is an invitation to evaluate what boundaries need to be set here.
Mm.
And we can come across this from like speaking a boundary or not speaking a boundary. But
Oh,
not speaking it doesn't mean not doing it, but there just are spoken and unspoken boundaries.
okay. And that doesn't mean, but like being a beep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in that case, like you might, if that's like what I would really recommend, if that's a dynamic, I would recommend setting that expectation from the beginning of
Mm,
like, hey, Aunt Carolyn, I know you really like to hug my son. That's really sweet. I love how much you love him and you want to connect with him. We're actually really teaching him a lot of like autonomy for his body. We want him to be in control of who he touches and when. So I need you to not approach him unless he approaches you for a hug. Or if you do want to hug him, you could ask him. And if he says no, I need you to respect that. And that would be a great way to like set that expectation up first.
wow. Like that feels so scary to me.
Yeah. And so that's a cue that there's a part of you that's like, oh
Right.
no,
That's a
yeah.
me thing.
But that's a part of you that needs some really love and connection from you of like, that feels scary. Why? There's a reason why that feels scary. And it's probably because you've been shut down, dismissed, criticized, or ashamed for having a need at some point in your life.
Hmm. Like we all have, you know? Yeah,
Well, exactly. We
absolutely.
all have. So when
Yeah.
you can invite connection and be like, oh, hey, this part of me feels scared about that. How can I bring her in? And just really be like, yeah, that feels scary. and I'm going to actually do this. You don't have to do it. Like that part of you doesn't have to do the work, which she feels like she does.
Right.
She say, you don't have to do it. I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take care of you as I do it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I'm doing. You don't want me to, but I'm doing it anyways. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my feet flat on the floor. Maybe I'm going to write down my script before I make the phone call.
Right.
And I'm going to like remove the urgency. If there's pushback, I'm going to slow down and pause and be with my breath. And I'm going to support you the whole way through it.
Mm.
So when we're creating that safety for our internal system and in the moment by supporting our nervous system, that's when we're creating new neural pathways ultimately in our
Mm.
brain, being like, oh, it's actually safe to do this now. It's not like it was when I was 7 years old and tried to say no to a hug.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then from there, then you can invite that internal dialogue and be like, see, it's okay. Like I am okay, which is easier to do when the other person respects it.
Right. The other thing I love is like this idea of inner dialogue. Do you know what I mean? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
just think we don't, like, I mean, for me, like, I know I like, I have a beautiful therapist and things like that, but I don't think about the inner dialogue of like that nurturing aspect or the awareness of the different parts within myself. So
Yeah.
that's really what I really enjoy about this conversation is just like that those pieces of us are always there to visit and to
Mm-hmm.
nurture and to talk to, whether
Yeah.
that's like inner child healing or whatever that is. But
Mm-hmm.
that is available for us. It's not just like keep going through the motions on like automatic robot mode.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And with that too, like going back to your question of how do I know how do I know what my boundaries are? I would encourage you to start by like just doing a little, well, anyone who's listening to do a little journaling on what are my ideals so I can feel my best and what are my minimums. And
Mm,
in which ways and with which people and what areas of my life do I feel like drained, exhausted, anxious, angry, and make a list of those. And that's going to direct you into paying more attention to those things in your life, which is going to direct you into what boundaries need setting to take care of yourself so that you don't like self abandon on repeat.
oh, I love that tool, Jen. So, something so simple like that, but yeah, being aware that those emotions are definitely going to come up at some point. So
Well, they are.
yeah, yeah, for everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
Jen,
guess
beautiful.
I know we probably have to wrap it up now, don't we?
I mean, we could talk for hours.
I
All
know. Can I say one more
of
thing?
course.
Okay, so like with this, like I said, it's easier when someone respects it. And when you're heading into a dysfunctional family gathering, it's probably not super likely that someone's going to be like, "Oh, yes, of course, no problem." Especially if they're used to you not ever having boundaries.
Mm.
You're going to likely experience some pushback. So set your expectations for that and remember what your goal is. And just if you say that in your mind over and over again, it's like, well, my goal is supporting my son to not be violated, if that's the boundary, for example. So you keep that in mind, really continue practicing your grounding strategies, continue with that internal dialogue, and just think that like other people are going to show you what they're capable of, and it's not a reflection of you.
Mm.
And so,
That's
like, how
that's a
can you
big thing to digest.
Yeah, it is. Like, that's like that. This is like the codependency work. Is like, okay, so if I'm really codependent, where like there's a bit of enmeshment. I feel really responsible for other people. I'm feeling what they're feeling. I'm taking on their energy. But if I'm really breaking free from that codependency, I'm going to like work really hard to break free from it. Then I can recognize where I end and where others begin. Invite my own energetic boundaries to not be taking on what's not mine and not be leaking out what's not theirs.
Mm.
And really recognizing, like, oh, I'm responsible for me, how I show up. I am not responsible for other people, how they show up, for their thoughts, for their emotions, for their beliefs, for any of their stuff. And just really looking at that. I end here, they begin here. It's not my responsibility. I can still show up with love and respect while honoring my own needs.
Mm. Wow. Feels like a lifetime of work to do that.
Well,
No, I love that I feel like I'm in like a therapy session right now with you. But those that's all so so true. What I love that you like the one of the first things you said is your family of origin. And
Mhm.
I just love that term because it's so true that it may be like our first like where we've come from, but is it like really our family that we carry throughout our whole life? When we meet, I'm from that spirit aspect of like meeting, friends that feel more like family than our actual family does, and realizing those complicated elements that are in that family of origin, and just knowing that that's part of our, our soul's journey here in earth school.
Oh my God,
you know
definitely.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I love that aspect too. So Jen, thank you so much for
Yeah.
these words of wisdom. And I mean, there's so multiple layers that we could have gone into with each of those
Hmm.
topics, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
And Jen, like if you like, please tell people like how they like some of your offerings maybe for the new year, or how they can find you and reach out if
Sure.
they're interested in joining your world.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. So I actually am in the process of recording like a very in-depth workshop on boundary setting right now. It's going to be ready in a couple of days. I have a couple of recorded workshops that are really on the same theme of like inviting that self-connection to be self-led instead of parts-led. I hold lots of different sessions. I do like a monthly full moon circle with my friend Trina, who I think is also going to be in here.
Yes.
And I do like usually 3 different women's retreats throughout the year. And I hold just a variety. I do online group therapy, individual therapy, and my whole practice is centered around supporting women to be like the most authentic versions of themselves, to learn how to become really empowered from within, to stop self-abandoning, to learn how to access your voice, and to just like really be who you really are. And that's my passion because
Mm,
that's been like my own journey of peeling back my own layers. And I love supporting other women to do the same thing.
beautiful. Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Thank you, Jen. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I just wish you a Merry Christmas.
Thanks so much, Michelle.
Okay, take care.
Okay.